Hi brothers and sisters, another video for 8th Day Dawning. Now before we go into this video, I'm going to tell you the title of it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We're going to call it The Precious Jasper and Ruby is what we're going to call this little video. And lest you think I have stones kicking around, because I'm going to show you a jasper and a ruby before we proceed. I got the Jasper Stone actually out of this little science rock and gem collection kit that we got for our son when he was little. So the Jasper Stone actually came out of this little box, and so you get 12 little stones, and I got the jasper there. This one's clear so you can't see it. Anyway, in your little book tells you all about them. Anyway, so he still had this kicking around, so I went and found the Jasper Stone out of it. So I'll show you the Jasper Stone. The ruby I got out of a ring, alright? It was bequeathed to me as a gift by one of my siblings as a keepsake, and the ruby fell out of it. So anyway, this is a Jasper Stone. I don't know if you can see it against the white. We pretty much know what a Jasper Stone looks like. Let me see. I'm going to get a flashlight. I'm going to shine it. Not that that's going to make any difference. I don't know. Can you see it? That's a Jasper Stone anyway. According to this little science kit. Alright, so that's a Jasper Stone. And we pretty much all know what a ruby looks like, right? This one's going to be harder to see because it's so tiny. It's not a big ruby. Sorry about that light. But you get the point. Alright? A ruby, right? Beautiful ruby. So that's the Jasper and the ruby. Why the Jasper and the ruby? Alright? So we're just going to quickly compile some verses. Well, actually read through compiled verses that we have here and see if we can learn something. So we'll start with this verse. Isaiah 51:1. Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, right? Ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek the Lord, look unto the rock. What's the rock, you suppose? You suppose it might be this Jasper Stone? I'm thinking it could be the Jasper Stone, which allegorically represents our mother Israel, I believe. Now, I might be wrong, all right? But I think so. As we progress, we'll see why. So, look unto the rock, from whence ye are hewn from, and to the hole of the pit which ye are digged. We might take a look at that second part there in a different video, if I get the chance to put the information together for you. Now, on to Isaiah 54, because we're looking at this rock here, and we're going to connect this rock here that we find, in Isaiah 51:1. My pencil lead broke. And now we're going to go to Isaiah 54:12. I said Isaiah 51:1, right? So Isaiah 54:12, and I will make your pinnacles, that word pinnacles there is translated as windows, battlements, or sun. Now, if you get looking in the Apocrypha, all right, which includes the book of Enoch and other passages like we've looked at in the book of Ezra, 2nd Ezra, it will speak of these windows that'll pour out blessings or cursings, right? It's interesting here, just for anybody, this is on a side note, that pinnacles is windows, battlement, or sun. Because our current sun is representative of the false light that shines upon us and actually makes us sick. It is a blessing, but it's a cursing, right? Because it's what's keeping us alive, I guess, but yet in this state where we die. So, but it says, I will make your pinnacles of what? Rubies. That's what one of the translations says. Or jasper, it says in another one. Or even beryl, it says in another. Isn't that interesting? So, I will make your pinnacles of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels. I found this one interesting. I meant to look this word up, and I didn't. See, I got caught up in 2 or 3 other studies right at the same time, and baby, I was a-booting on them. But I can't share them with you yet. So what I found interesting, it says sparkling jewels, your gates. Well, I thought they were pearls. Well, sparkling jewels don't really sound like pearls to me. Anyway, because this is actually a description of New Jerusalem, the bride. Yeah, the bride. That doesn't include men. Brides don't usually have a man standing next to her. Not usually. Or a child standing next to her. Not taking vows to the bridegroom right at the same time. So obviously the bride here is distinctly feminine. Distinctly. Alright? So, and I'll make your walls of precious stones. So we see the walls, the wall there, and we see the 12 stones in the New Jerusalem described in Revelation. So of course, like I said, this is an image of the bride, New Israel, actually. Because she promises the virgin daughter, Israel, I will rebuild you again. So, where does those two passages really, in my way of thinking, brought me to? And it brought me to Revelations 4:3. The one that sits upon the throne is described as a jasper and a ruby. Why? Why do you think that? Aside than the false religion that we've been taught our whole lives as Christian children, and I was classed as a Christian child. I was raised in a Christian home with the standard theology that is taught at all Christian children. So Revelations 4:3, this is what it says. It says, and the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and ruby. Who is that describing? Well, based on what I just read in Isaiah 51:1 and Isaiah 54:12, I would have to say it's telling us of the bride, Israel, that is sitting upon the throne there. And it is not a male. Because, all right, on we go. So, they had the appearance of jasper and ruby, and a rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. What did we discover the emerald is? It's, you know, a government system is often green. And I suggested that the daughters of Israel, as the government of God, that sat as this government of God in the house in the forest of Lebanon, they were first identified by the tribe that they came from, and we know that each tribe had a distinct color. And then as a distinct coloring of the government of God that met in the house in the forest of Lebanon, they wore this color of green, is a suggestion that I made. So I think this is the government of God around the throne and Mother Israel sitting there, is what I think it's really a description of. And you can agree or you can disagree. And I suspect the bulk of you is going to disagree. And that's fine. That's fine. Lamentations 4:1. This is kind of leading us to the female suffering servant. And that's why you get the color red. That's why we're getting jasper. And that's why we're getting the ruby and beryl in color. So Lamentations 4:1, because we did a study on this, right? How is the gold, we identified that the sons of Zion, sons of God, because they were the sons of the daughters of Israel. So how is the sons of God, or the sons of Zion, become dim? They've lost their luster. The fine gold has become dull. The sacred gems are scattered at every street corner. This is where we understood about the divine feminine being sacrificed on the corner. Now the watchtowers were at the corners in a protected fortress or village, right? So these are your high towers on the corners, right? And so it's interesting once you get understanding all of that. So the precious sons of Zion, once worth their weight in gold, are now considered as pots of clay, the work of potter's hands. So that takes us to Isaiah 29, where they told the potter she had no power. Now they say he, but she's the potter. That she had no power. We've discovered words that suggest exactly the same thing. That mother is the potter. She forms the clay in her womb, and then she gives birth to it. She gives life to it. Down here we give death to it because we don't live forever, right? We die. So the clay comes really into that suggestion, into that mind. What I found interesting was Christ was crucified, and just a quick note here because I really don't have time, but in Zechariah 11, she receives 30 pieces of silver for her mantle when she sells it to the priest. And I thought, because God says, Mother says, I'll reshape your mantle and I'll make it even grander. Now that takes us to Christ. Well, why silver? If he was the son of Zion, it should have been gold, don't you think? I don't know. There's something there to think about. But anyway, what we realize with the Lamentations 4, and I have to be quick here, is that they were offering up a blood libation by sacrificing their mothers of wisdom, where the government of God, or the covenant of God, rather, was found on these wise women's tongues. All right? And so the sons rejected them, the word and covenant that came from their mother, because it leads us straight to what verse 3 says, where the daughters have completely turned away from their own children and giving suck to their own child. So that's telling us something that we need to really look into and examine. Why do these first two verses precede that third one? Because the sons were casting off the covenant of their mother's wisdom, known as Mother Israel. And they were literally sacrificing some of these daughters, because we're told some got out, some left, some escaped, some were sold in slavery, and it goes on and on. It tells us where many of them ended up. So that was verse 2. The precious sons of Zion, once worth their weight in gold, are now considered as pots of clay, the work of a potter's hand. Lamentations 4:3. This is concerning the daughters. Even the sea monsters, but most are translating this as jackals. Most of the translations are translating it that way. Offer their breasts to nurse the young, but the daughter of my people has become cruel, like an ostrich in the wilderness. Now we've looked at what the ostrich is, so I got to move. So Lamentations 4:1, the word scattered, Hebrew 8210, it means to pour out. To cast up a siege, we see the daughter of Zion under siege in Isaiah 29. It means to dump, gushed, poured, shed. You shed blood. As in pour out water. Shed water? I don't think you shed water, you shed blood. Gems, translated in this verse, is Hebrew 68. It's stone. It's feminine. Cornerstone. Lapis lazuli. Rock. Plumb line. Weights. Charms. Stone cutters. From the root of bana, which means to build. Through the meaning to build. Right? So what we see there is they were actually rejecting the foundation stone through these mothers of wisdom, Mother Israel, word upon her tongue, which was her covenant. Sacred, 6944, they want to put this masculine. I'm going to tell you because these are stones, female, that these are the holy ones of Israel, or the holy one, the daughter of Zion, daughter Israel, who flowed like a living water from Bashan or from Lebanon. Lebanon was in Bashan. That's the north kingdom after it became divided, and that defines your female, where the government of God met in house and force, Lebanon. So sacred means apartness, sacredness, holy portion. So whose holy portion? Job says in Job 30 or 31, verse 1 2, I made a covenant with mine eyes, why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? The inheritance of the Almighty from on high. So these daughters were her inheritance to work through, the scepter that she ruled through. So it's by God, those are all, okay, hallowed things, which then takes us to Jeremiah 9. And what is Jeremiah told to do? Well, he's told to go get the cunning folk. Go look that up on Wikipedia. They want to tell you cunning women means witches and all that nasty thing. These were your healers. They knew how to heal the body. They knew how to keep it well. They were not witches. They were not. They were holy women. And if you want to go look that up. But it appears in Jeremiah 9 as cunning women. And Jeremiah is told to go get them so that they might weep because their houses were casting them out. You see, the Holy Spirit was being cast down. So that's my 15-minute video. It's information for you to go in and look into yourself. So I thank you for watching my video. Hope you have a good evening or day, whatever it may be. And I hope you're blessed with an abundance of truth. And thanks for watching.